Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be all about my custom single palette for January, February, and we will be selecting some new things as well, and I'm gonna go over some of the information you send me. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. If you're into eyeshadow palettes, essence, and Catrice, and getting the use out of your makeup the way that I am, then this video may be right up your street. And there's an interactive part to this, so I hope you'd like to stay tuned for that as well, because in case you don't know, for more than a year now, I've been building myself some single palettes just to try and get more use out of my singles collection and not let them go by the wayside. And I've been loving filming this, but not a lot of people are joining me to watch this. So I thought, how can I get more people to watch this video? Why not run a giveaway? So I will also be including some of the inspiration pictures that you guys sent me, and I have selected one of the pictures one of you sent me to build my new palette with. So let me go over all of that, but before we do that, I would like to point out that I have fair skin with a cool neutral undertone, which greatly skews my makeup preferences. And because I've been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade, I also have some very strong favorites. So if you'd like to stay tuned for all of that goodness, then all you need to do is click the subscribe button down below and join the Snow Angel Club. Last month, I selected this very blue heavy color story, mainly because I wanted to try out this shade from Glam Shop, and I kind of selected some other shades to go with it. Granted, I've only used it twice, but I think both of the looks I created were really, really stunning. I ended up in January to just run out of a bit of time, also because I was still filming for some shorts that I'm going to be showing you, so I want to show you all the different looks I do. And that's just a little bit more of a challenge to then rope these things in. So I managed to do two of them. One of them is on my eyes today, I'm happy to say. And I'm going to be showing you the swatches of this palette, and then in the second half of the video, we'll take all of my singles out. I'll show you the inspo picture, and then I'll show you what my new palette is going to look like. So I've been loving building these very small, more curated, like 6, maybe 7 pen color stories in this little Nabla palette that I once got free as a gift with purchase. And it's been great. I love it. In here, I have some Sydney Gray, some Terra Moons, Glam Shop, Clionadh, ColourPop, ABH, and I'm not entirely sure anymore what this is. Let me take a peek. Oh, that's also a Sydney Grace one. Yeah, so we've got a little bit of lots of different indie brands in here, and I'm just gonna say it right off the bat, this was such a successful color story. It's that we're at a new month that I need to select something new, but let me tell you, if this were a palette that I could buy, I'd buy it. These are my shades. It's like navy blues with some interesting shimmers, and I loved every minute of it. So let me tell you first about the two looks I did, and then I'll talk about each shade individually. So the first look I created really featured this matte. This is by Sydney Grace. I believe it's called Indiana Love. I don't know all of the names from the top of my head. I'm gonna have to take a peek in a minute. So I used that in the crease, then I used this Let's Cuddle shade from Sydney Grace, sort of in the outer V to get some sparkle on the lid. But then I used this in the inner third overlapping that dark blue shimmer, this one here. This is from Terra Moons, and this is Moontide, and this is one of their multi-chromes. And in a swatch, the Terra Moons shades that I bought 6 of them a year and a half ago, just to give the brand a try because I hadn't tried them yet. And I just wasn't super impressed. They didn't really seem to offer me anything new. And I was once I put this on, I was oh, okay, now I get the hype. So yeah, you'll see when you see the look that I did with this, you're gonna understand it, I'm sure. And I just rounded off the look with this Clionadh shade. I'm not sure anymore what it's called. This is Glow from Clionadh. This is one of their multi-chrome glittery shades. So I felt that these 4 shades were a really great combination that made for a really pretty look. And then the second look is what I'm wearing on my eyes today, and I sort of went for a reverse halo eye where I've tried to put the deepest shade, which is this marble shadow from Glam Shop. It's called Nightmare. I put that in the middle of the lid, and I used Prussian blue from Anastasia in the inner and outer thirds of the lid. And then I used this white with a blue flip in the inner corner, and I also used Nightmare on the lower lash line. So that's the second look I did. I'll insert a picture of that as well, a close-up, so you can really see what I've got going on there. But I like looks like this. Like if I wear navy blue, like a bright blue I'm not too big of a fan of, but a navy blue, it just, there's just something about it. I just love it. I just do. And I really think that the way this came together, for me, like when I picked the shades, I wasn't sure how it was gonna play, which is I think also why I sort of put off playing with it, because I didn't have the confidence that my selection was good enough. But now that I've actually played with it, I'm like, oh, could someone please make this for me? I think it was very successful indeed, and the main like star of the show is the Terra Moon shade. So let me just start at the top here and we'll make our way around there. So the first shade in here is Glow from Clionadh. I already mentioned it's a multi-chrome that they have in, I think they're like glitter iridescent selection. It's stunning. It's one of my favorite Clionadh shades that I have. It's great as an inner corner highlight, which is how I usually use it. But this is also stunning, like topped over any of these like darker shades. Like if you were to just lay down this matte and then this all over it, or this shimmer and this all over it, it's going to like morph into something even more interesting. It can really take a look to another level, and I love having these Clionadh glitter multi-chromes in my custom singles palettes, because I feel they can really, like, even if the entire look comes out like just not that great, then this is gonna save the day. That was what I was trying. The next shade in here is Let's Cuddle from Sydney Grace. This was in their blue mystery bag for the summertime. So I'm not entirely sure whether this is actually available as a like single shadow for sale or whether it was unique to the mystery bag. I don't know, but it's a really pretty navy blue shimmer, and it was one of my favorite shades that I got in any of the mystery bags over the summertime. So I knew I wanted to play in it, like with it in like a color story that wasn't just the mystery bag shades, because I did already play with it, but only with the other shades from the mystery bag. And I felt it was really lovely in here. Then I also selected this like steel blue shade. This is Prussian blue from ABH. And this was really lovely. It's actually what's on my eyes today. And it's almost got a little bit of green to it. It's not just a blue, I feel, so it's very teal leaning, which is probably why I love it. And I have a couple of the ABH singles, and I really like them, but I think they are a little bit expensive for what they are. The Sydney Grace ones are like half or maybe a third of what you pay for an ABH shadow by now. So I'm not sure whether it's necessarily worth it. I think other brands do similar things. This little guy here to the side is a ColourPop shade. This is from the ColourPop Blue Moon palette. So I don't know what the individual shade was called. I'm not sure if ColourPop ever did this as a single. I just popped it out of the palette because I thought it was a really pretty like white with a blue flash. And I love those kind of things for an inner corner highlight, which is what I've used it as today. So I saved it from that palette before decluttering it and taking any of the shades out that I liked. I put one of the other shades also in one of my other ColourPop palettes. So yeah, this is a lovely one. I liked it. It's not very special. You can find this from other brands for sure, but I just salvaged one from a ColourPop palette that I used to own. Then Indiana Love from Sydney Grace, and this is like quite possibly one of the best matte navy blues that I've ever come across. Now, granted, it does pull a little bit more of a gray navy rather than like a very, very blue navy. So for smoky eyes, I actually prefer it if they have a bit more vibrancy to it, but for the purpose of this little quad and the way it came together, I thought it was really lovely. It worked great in the crease, and it's a really good deepening up shade for, like, if you want to pair navies and taupes, I think they go really well together. So if you're a neutral lover but you want to add a pop of color, then adding a dark navy like this as liner or on the lower lash line, or maybe to deepen out your outer V, then shades like this are incredible. I actually forgot to tell you this, but as a transition, I did use the matte taupe from the Naked 2, which is something I rearranged, and it's in my makeup drawer for the rest of the year to see if I can hit pan on some of these. So I did put that matte taupe in there to give me something to work with on in the crease area, because I don't love something this intense by itself in the crease. It just closes off my eyes a bit too much. So I use that matte taupe called Tease all over my crease, and then I was able to blend this into it. Then I already mentioned the star of the show was Moontide by Terra Moons. This is such a lovely eyeshadow. I really, really enjoyed it. It didn't look as special in a swatch, I felt, as it did once it went on to my eyes. It's, again, another one of those shades that if you put a different base layer under it, for instance, a black or a dark navy blue, that it's going to change color. I did sort of try and leave a gap of my skin tone towards my inner corner so that it looked a little bit even more dimensional, that it wasn't just layered over the navy, so that you can get the full effect of this shade. And if I didn't have this in my palette, then I would have wrapped this around my inner corner, because I think it's lovely for that as well. But yeah, it's very high shine. And I definitely think that this shade is something that adds something differently to my entire multi-chrome singles collection for sure. And that's a feat, because I've got a couple of the Clionadh ones, and those are usually like what I prefer. And then last but not least, we have the Glam Shop shade in here called Nightmare. And this is a shade that when I was playing around with my Glam Shop palette at the end of 2022, I wasn't able to use this one yet. So I did a couple of looks with it, but I felt it didn't go with anything I was doing at the time. And that's why I built this palette, because I was like, right, this is going to play off of these blues really well. It looks very gold here. But it actually has like a black and navy with this like coppery, almost like brassy sparkle to it. It's really insanely pretty, but it's a very deep shade. And because it is a shimmer and it's quite flaky, I was afraid I couldn't control it very well, which is why I used it in the center of this halo eye and along the lower lash line today, just to see what it would do. And I think it's very pretty indeed, yeah. So yeah, that's the palette that I have going on for January, February. But of course, last time I asked you guys whether you could send me some inspiration pictures. Now, the winner of the giveaway, because yes, we're running a giveaway here, has already received a message from me to like verify who they are and to make sure that they can win. It's a completely random process. What you sent me does not it does up your chance of winning, because you get more entries if you send me some pictures, but anybody can win. It doesn't, like, the quality of your pictures, etc., etc., doesn't really matter for winning. What it does matter is for being featured in this video. And I got some really, really lovely inspiration pictures that some of you sent me. I was also sent some like single palette collection, so it was really, really fun to go over all of the entries and see what you guys came up with. I was very, very pleased for the first time running this giveaway to get so many entries already. So if you'd like to join the giveaway again, then you can. All you need to do is click the link in the description box down below. There's a Google form there, and all you need to do is fill that out, and then I can, I'll have your email address and I can contact you if you're the winner. But you can also upload pictures if you want to send me some inspo for my next palette. So I'm now going to be putting some of the pictures up on the screen of what people send me in terms of like inspiration pictures. So these suggestions that were sent to me were very much sort of like two sides, but all still very sort of Valentine's Day-esque. And a lot of people's suggestions were actually like fiery shades, like reds and oranges, and I don't really have that in my eyeshadow singles collection because they're not shades I tend to wear a lot. I have a couple of palettes that can do that for me, but I don't have that in my singles collection because I feel it's not overly flattering on me. So that's not something that I can build necessarily. And then the other half of the suggestions really went into like winter weather, northern lights, sort of like soft grays and blues and maybe some pinks as well, some purples thrown into the mix, and that's also going to be one of the images I have selected to build a new color story with, because I do think that these like purples and like those kind of things is really where I want to go now, especially now that I've built such a perfect like blue navy color story. It's like, okay, I want to do something like this but with purples, and the inspiration picture goes with it so well, and It's very much up my street. Like, I love taking inspiration from nature for color stories, and this picture just does it all. But I really loved all the other inspiration pictures you guys sent me as well. So make sure to, by the time you're watching this bit, you will have seen a couple of those popping up on the screen. Not everybody wanted to get a mention in the video, so that's why I'm sort of leaving names out of the equation. And as I already mentioned, the winner of last month's giveaway has already been contacted. If you want to enter again, it's still open. If you haven't won, then you're still allowed to enter for the next round. So make sure you leave that down below. And of course, if you've already won, but you still want to send me an inspiration picture, you can, just using that form down below. So if you'd like to have a lot of fun again entering, I would love to see what you guys come up with next. And then I'll be using that inspiration to build a new color story with again next month. You should still have about 2 weeks to enter, I think, by the time this video goes up. However, what I'm going to be doing from now on is like the last day of the month, or like one of the first days of the new month, I will already reset the form. So if you already want to enter for March, you can do so from like very early on in March. You can already enter again. So you don't have to wait for the video to go live if you want to send new ideas. Because the giveaway closes at the end of every month, just so you know. So yeah, that's it, what I wanted to say about the entries that I got from you guys. But now it's time to go down to the floor and select some new eyeshadows to play with. So welcome to the floor. If my hands look stained, I just finished watching filming swatches for another video, so that's why my hands are stained. There's nothing wrong with me. But yeah, we're going to be switching out this little palette for something else, and I'll pop the inspiration picture up on the screen, because the minute I saw this, I felt like, could you read my mind? Because I love images like this, and we've got some like bluish, purpley, pink sort of vibe with some gray, and then we have that vibrant from the lightning flashes. So I have the picture up on my computer screen right next to me here. So that's what I'm going to try and build a palette with. But let me put this back into the original palette first. Okay, so I'm going to be building the palette up again in this guy here. So this is my little Nabla mini palette that I got free with a gift with purchase. And I think we really need to go in hard with like blues, green, like the blue, the purples, and like those pinky shades. So I'm just going to be like pulling some things that I know have those shades already. The selection that I think I want to pull from is my OG favorite, the blue, green, purple palette that we're all familiar with if you've been with me for a while. So this is something I built myself. And then I have quite a few of those kind of shades in this Lethal Cosmetics selection. I think there are some good things here in the sparkly palette. I have some cooler things in my Cool Tone palette, and then I have my Multi-Chrome palette for like also some fun sparkles. So we'll see what we'll pull from. But I also want to have a look at this Glam Shop palette, because I'm not sure if you can see here, but it's got some nice purpley shades here, and maybe this shade over on this side here may be nice as well. So we'll see what we'll pull. I can usually fit 6 to 7 shades in here, especially if I go from like smaller pans, because Nabla singles like this one, you can just see they're a bit bigger, and that's what they're supposed to fit, like 6 of those Nabla shades. So if I look at the image here, and we start in the center of the image, then we have some really bright, almost like yellowish lightning flashes. And I actually think that like something like this, oh, you can't really tell here, but something like this may be pretty for that like level of brightness. And this is Snowdrift from Clionadh. So that's a contender. I see this one right here. This is Starboy from Luxie. This is one of my favorites in my entire singles collection, so that could be that as well, because it's like silver and gold at the same time. It's really pretty, so that could be that. Yeah, I think that will fit better than Snowdrift from Clionadh. But I'm also looking at these like purpley shades here. This looks really stunning. Oh, that's Noir from Luxie. And here we have Crystalline from Clionadh. Because I like that because it has some of that like pinky purpliness, but this one right next to it as well. Let me see what this is. This is Hex from Clionadh. That looks pretty, but I also like these, the look of these two. So let me see what this is. This is Devious from Luxie, but I know that pulls a bit deeper, so that's not what I want. And this is Kelks from Clionadh. Ooh. So I think Kelks is actually what I want to go for. So I'm going to pop this one back in. I don't think I've ever popped this in, but it's got, like, if I look at the image, then this is like that sort of like pink to purple sort of middle ground that it has. So I think that may be pretty. And then I want to pull something from here as well so that we have some like mattes to pull from. If that, you know, I think especially this one right here, this is from Divina. What's it called again? It's Remy. This is like one of my favorite purple mattes in my entire collection. So I may want to pull that, but I'm not sure if that's too bright. And I feel that all of the other purples I have in here are quite warm toned. This could be another contender for that flash in the middle. This is Sydney Grace's Winter Garden, and this was actually a shade that I instantly thought of for February to select it. It's a bit more of a pink though, pink with a blue flash. So I think, again, that's better than the Luxie shade, so we'll swap those out. And I think actually in terms of like what we've got going on in the palette, that maybe this matte, this like more mauve tone, that can be pretty here. I think that will be pretty. This is Regal from Sydney Grace. So I'll pop that in here. Pop this back, because I think that works better with the image. But then we also need some like deeper things. And we've got quite a lot of like purple to blue leaning shades. And I don't think, so I'm not sure I have anything that's like that deep. I'm looking at something that I've got here. This is from Lethal Cosmetics, so maybe that shade. This is Deceit. That could be pretty. And I also quite like the look of Stargaze. That's that shimmer that was right next to it. But then I do have these from incl. And again, not quite. So I think this may be actually the most in the right direction, like these two Lethal shades. So we'll select those two as well. And then I do want something that's like a brighter purple. So I'm actually thinking of like some of these glam shop things that I've got here. So I've got this one. This is Balanga. I think it's something like Dan something in English. So this may be pretty for like that true purple shimmer that I may want to have in here. I also like the look of this. I'm not going to lie. This is a Sydney Grace shade, I'm sure. Yes, it's Fierce, but that won't fit. I already know that that's not going to fit. So I can't have all 6 of those. What's this? Oh, this is Purple Chakra from Glam Shop, but I think that's too warm toned, so that won't work. And then I have here, this is I think a Clionadh shade. Oh no, this is High Roller from Luxie, and then this is Skylights from Clionadh, and I actually think this may be really stunning for this one as well. Oh, that's gonna be perfect. Oh, yes. Yes. So here are all of the shades that I've selected so far, but there are too many to fit into the palette. And I feel that some things are too similar as well. But I think I'm going to keep in Regal from Sydney Grace, because that's a stunning, like, transitioning shade. Winter Garden is, like, exactly what I want to go for. And I think it's the best representation of, like, that brighter pop in the middle of the picture. And then I think I just need to choose between these shimmers. Like, what do I want to do? I think these Lethal shades are, like, the deeper shades that this palette, like, the thing has to offer. But as you can see, I have about 2 spaces left. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold, so my voice is going. So I think that this is the Glam Shop one, I think. Yes, it's too bright for what I want to go for. So that goes back in there. And then I'm thinking, yeah, this Clionadh shade is just great. This is Skylights, and look at how perfect that is. And I think it's that purpley pink that we kind of see around those lightning flashes as well. So I think I like that. And then this is, again, a little bit too vibrant. And I think I want to pull in this other Clionadh shade. This is Calx, and I think that goes really well with this. So this is Fierce from Sydney Grace. That's going to go back to where it's supposed to go. So we've got 2 Lethal, 2 Clionadh, and 2 Sydney Grace shades. So I think I like this. I like the look of this a lot. So I think that is going to be a very successful palette for me to play with. I'm going to be showing you swatches of this next time. But yeah, this is what I built myself based on your inspiration picture. So thank you very much for sending it to me. I think it's a lovely picture, and I think this is a great little color story to play around with.